A person arrives. I'm reading quietly a magazine. He takes it away from me. Obviously, my vigilance makes me protect myself with my arms. Something's happening. He strikes directly. I use my hands to stop him and find myself in a good position for a very good control. He doesn't have much space to move, so I'll take advantage of that. I can possibly kick him, but I have an immediate control here, which is very interesting because I can do an arm lock. He can no longer hit me. He's imbalanced, and I push his head inwards to put him in a very uncomfortable position. A punch in the floating ribs will calm him down, and since I control his arm, I take his wrist to immobilize him totally. The pain makes him move no more.
De prendre son poignet pour l'immobiliser totalement. La douleur fait qu'il ne va plus bouger.
Since I'm in this position, the quickest movement would be to dodge, as if I was going to punch, as so to avoid other hits. I move forward, I stand straight and block his leg in a circular movement. Within the same movement, I bring him to the floor and do a leg lock. Twist his leg, control him, and from there I can hit him, immobilize him, anything. Hardest part is to get here.
Ça sera pas trop compliqué. Le plus dur, c'est d'arriver là. Et puis on simule le contre. Ne quitte pas, s'il te plaît. Et puis on simule le contre. Ne quitte pas, s'il te plaît.
A man approaches me. The fact that he approaches me makes me react. I see he's coming to strike me with a stick. Many things can happen, but I will probably get hurt. I'll try to reduce the damage. As he arrives, I'll protect myself. I stand straight and find myself in a good position. I move forward and take advantage of the contraction of his arm to do a control lock. I'm immediately in a very good position. I can hit his body, and I grab his face and push him down on his back, and I find myself with his arm at a 90 degrees. I'm performing a painful lock on his arm and shoulder, which allows me to control him.
Pourquoi tu m'emmerdes là? Pourquoi tu tu m'emmerdes là.
A man blocks my
Donc, il me
wrist
bloque
on my
mon
thigh.
poignet sur ma
Instantly,
cuisse.
I see that he wants to hit me,
Instantanément, je vois
but I'm
qu'il
in a
veut me
good
frapper,
position to do a lock.
mais je suis
I
très
block his
facilement dans
wrist
une position de
against
crainte.
mine and
Je
use
vais
my elbow
bloquer son
just with a
poignet
pressure forward so he
contre le
won't
mien
be able to
et
hit me,
utiliser mon coude
and all I
juste
need is to
avec
continue
une
the
pression en
movement
avant. Ce qui
as
fait que
his
déjà,
wrist is blocked. My
il ne pourra
elbow
plus me frapper.
blocks
Et
his
il n'a plus
elbow.
qu'à continuer le
I just
mouvement
need to
puisque son
continue
poignet est
this
fixé.
movement in a circular
Mon
way
coude bloque
and
son
bring
poignet.
him to the
Il n'a
floor.
plus qu'à continuer le mouvement de façon circulaire et il va venir au sol. Avec l'effet surprise, ça sera même encore plus facile. Et là, j'ai plus qu'à
With the
avancer.
surprise effect, it will be even easier,
Immédiatement, j'en
and there
profite
I
pour mettre
just
tout le
need to
poids de
move
mon corps
forward.
sur son
Immediately, I
bras
push
en
him down
bloquant
with all the weight of my body on his arm,
l'intersection
blocking the
omoplate
intersection scapula
bras.
arm. On the elbow,
Sur
I
le
do a
coude,
lock. And if I want
j'exerce
to block him,
une
I can
push.
also block his arm with my
Et si
leg,
je veux le
which
fixer, je peux
releases
aussi éventuellement
both my
bloquer son
hands
bras
to
avec
have a total
l'index qui
control
libère
over
ma
the
main
person.
pour avoir un contrôle parfait sur l'individu. Je suis sur mon banc et il me
I'm on a
menace
bench,
pour de
and a
l'argent
person
avec un
comes
couteau.
and threatens me with a knife.
Très rapidement, je sens et je vois que
Very quickly, I can
je
see
peux
that I can
bloquer
block
déjà
his
son
arm
bras avec
with the bench or
ou
the wall.
le banc ou le muret.
I hit him
Je
so to
frappe
burst his hand against
pour
the wall,
éclater sa
which
main
will
contre le
release the
mur,
tension of his hand.
ce qui déjà va relâcher la tension de sa main.
I take
Et
and
j'en
pull his
profite
arm
pour
and do an elbow
tirer son
lock
bras, le
to
tirer
make
avec
him completely
et
lose his
commencer à
balance.
exercer une clé de coude
From
pour lui
there,
faire
I
perdre
move my
complètement
elbow
l'équilibre.
over his
À
head
partir de
for a
là,
total
je
control
vais passer mon coude par-dessus sa tête
and
pour
do
un
an
contrôle
arm lock
total
to be
et
able to
venir lui
recover
faire
the knife
une
and
clé de
now
bras,
hold him accountable.
récupérer le couteau et maintenant lui demander des comptes. Et je sens la main sur
I feel a
l'épaule.
hand on my shoulder. I turn around surprised.
Et là,
There
je
I
vois
see
qu'il
a
va
man
tourner son
aiming
bras
at
pour
me
frapper.
with a fist.
Je vais contrer non pas
I'll fight back,
de façon
but not in a traditional
traditionnelle,
way.
mais je vais contrer
I
en
will
contrôlant
counter
tout
by
de suite
protecting
mon corps,
myself right away
en
with my elbow
protégeant
and my arm
avec
to control
mon
the
coude
top of
et
his
mon
head,
bras
to unbalance him,
pour venir
and at the
contrôler
same time I
au
grab his
niveau du sommet
arm,
de sa tête pour
if possible
déséquilibrer.
at the height
Et en
of
même
the
temps,
elbow,
je
and
saisis son
just
bras,
with a pressure
si
and a little
possible encore
circular
un peu.
movement,
Et
I
là,
bring him
juste
to the
avec une
ground
pression et un
quickly.
petit mouvement circulaire, je l'amène au sol rapidement. Je reste au contrôle. Son
I
poignet dans ma
remain
main
controlling him.
me
His
permet
wrist in my hand allows
de
me
lui
to do
faire
a
une
painful
figure
grip.
avec mon genou.
With my
Je
knee,
bloque
I
son
block
coude.
his elbow.
Rien que là,
I
déjà,
now have a
j'ai un
very
très
good
bon
control
contrôle.
over him.
Maintenant, pour aller plus
To go
loin dans la
further, I
maîtrise,
move my leg
je
over
vais
him
passer
to
ma
block his
jambe
neck,
par-dessus pour venir
to
bloquer sa
stabilize
nuque,
him, and I kneel down straight,
bien
holding his
fixé,
arm to
et
do
je
an elbow
descends
lock.
tout droit en
I
maîtrisant son
kneel
bras pour
down.
faire une clé de coude.
As you can
Là,
see,
je
his
descends,
elbow is
ça y
blocked
est,
on my thigh.
son coude est bloqué sur
So
ma
I do an
cuisse.
elbow lock,
Donc
a
j'ai
wrist
clé au
lock,
niveau du coude,
and I
au
control
niveau
his
du
head
poignet,
with my
et
leg.
je maîtrise sa tête au niveau de ma jambe.
I just have the time to turn around, and there I see a person throwing a kick at me. As an immediate reflex, I protect myself. I block his leg by taking it from underneath. If I have the time, I catch him by the neck to avoid seriously hurting him. But if I can't, he'll fall in the same way. It's just that his head may hit the floor. With my hip, I lift him up and bring him to the floor and control him. My knees surround his knee. I have a good control over him. Before he has the time to recover, and assuming that the shock was not enough to knock him out, I do an ankle lock at the heel. And to totally control him, I put my leg, in this case my right leg, just above his knee, and now he's paralyzed. Difficult for him to run away now. Even if he tries to catch me or hit me, the pain is currently too strong. I can easily break his ankle, and he knows it.
Même s'il veut essayer de m'attraper ou de me taper, la douleur sera trop forte. Je risque de lui casser la cheville, et il le sent.
For security reasons, we're going to show you this movement very slowly so as not to risk hitting my friend and student Leo in the jaw. When he arrives, and to avoid the bat as much as possible, I will approach him very quickly, hand to hand. I get well placed. He, in his movement, will not try to do anything other than retrieve his stick, so I will use his inertia to hit him and block his arm. Then I disarm him. As you can see, it goes smoothly. I do more or less a lock. I distract him, and at the same time I hit him on the thigh. The advantage is that he'll be hurt, and this will allow me to regain the upper hand. Immediately in motion, before he recovers, I do a lock with the bat. If I really feel I'm in danger and that there are 2 or 3 people arriving, if I have to finish him, I hit him on the head. Then I control him with an elbow lock, a throat lock, and I use this lever to bring him to the floor and control him definitively. I block his head and strangle him.
Je bloque la tête et là j'ai un étranglement.
A person comes and grabs me.
premier réflexe,
First
je
reflex,
vais
I turn my shoulders to counter his
pour
strength.
contrer sa force.
He might be stronger than me. If I push him, he's too strong. Breaking his guard on the side allows me to reduce his strength.
Ça me permet de rentrer et
I
d'attirer
use
sa
my
force.
hand to break
J'en
his
profite
concentration.
avec ma main
With the other
pour
hand,
concentrer.
I control his wrist, which quickly allows me to get his elbow and bend it to the
Qui
inside.
va me permettre rapidement d'aller
Then,
chercher
once I have control of his arm, quickly on a very reduced space like this, so I don't risk to get hurt if there was a wall or people, I move my hip to project him.
rapidement sur un espace très clos, comme ça je risque pas de me blesser si jamais il y a des murs ou du monde. Je vais venir passer ma hanche pour le projeter. Ici, il est sur le
Here,
dos,
he's on his
et
back.
je
I
vais
can either hit
contracter,
him or have control over his arm
sur le bras,
to stabilize
pour le
him,
fixer,
immobilize him, or break his arm.
l'immobiliser,
It would all
ou
depend on the
placer un bras
situation and
qui
his
va
reaction.
dépendre
Anyway, I'm in a
de la
good
situation et de sa
situation now.
réaction. En tout cas là, je suis en situation favorable.
Descends.
D'accord, d'accord. À genoux. Mets-toi tout de suite sur les genoux. Tout de suite sur les genoux.
Descends.
D'accord, d'accord. À genoux. Mets-toi tout de suite sur les genoux. Tout de suite sur les genoux.
A person arrives, armed with a gun, and threatens me. He asks me to get out of the car. I accept verbally, and very quickly I will disarm him. I have little room to be able to do effective techniques, and it's after all a weapon. Bad things can happen quickly. I may even have a passenger or children behind me, so I cannot take any risks. From the moment I decide to disarm him, I do everything to put the gun towards him as much as possible. I managed to pull the gun away from him before he could shoot.
Le fait de prendre le canon par la main n'est absolument pas un problème.
Taking the gun by the hand is absolutely not a problem, and I find myself immediately with the gun in my hand. I hold his wrist to control him, threaten him, and make him kneel. A person strikes me. I just have the time to pivot and push him with my arm, and then I use all the weight of my body to block his arm so that he cannot continue or eventually throw me a hook with his other arm. I mobilize him with my arm in a kind of triangle. Once here, and that I control him well with my body and my arm, I start my triangle, thus stabilizing him and making him finish in a circular movement, so that he cannot hit me or turn me around. I quickly aim at my triangle at the same time that I bring him between my knees. Once in my strangulation here, he's mine. He gives up or I knock him out. A man comes and throws a circular quick kick at me. I just have the time to block it with my hands and push him back powerfully on the thighs. I take advantage of this step backwards, of this imbalance, to attack him very quickly with the back of my fist directly to the face. From there, I can either continue the fight or run away.
Défoncez. Défoncez.
I hear someone approaching. I look behind me and I can see a man arriving. At that moment, the simplest movement that comes to mind by conditioned reflex is a side kick. So I stop him right there. I kick him, given his position on the floating ribs. If I don't knock him out, at least this will stop him long enough for me to regain control. A person grabs my right arm and tries to slap me. By conditioned reflex means by training. I stop his slap with both my hands. And as he slaps me, I grab his full hand and control it by twisting his wrist, controlling it by the fingers. From there, I can bring him behind me, in front of me, to the right, to the left. I control him. I put pressure on his forearm to bring him to the floor. I use my leg to control him as well. His arm, an elbow lock, a wrist lock, and to be sure to control him totally, from the movement I control his thumb. I have now enough pressure to keep him calm.
Là, j'ai suffisamment de moyens de pression pour qu'il reste calme.
Donne-moi ta voiture.
Viens la chercher, viens la chercher. Voilà, maintenant gentil. Là. Descends, descends sur les genoux. Descends sur les genoux. Voilà. Qu'est-ce que tu veux?
Donne-moi ta voiture.
Viens la chercher, viens la chercher. Voilà, maintenant gentil. Là. Descends, descends sur les genoux. Descends sur les genoux. Voilà.
I get assaulted by an individual who threatens me with a knife. I'm limited in any gesture. Because of the car seat, I have little space, and if I react with my right hand, he has the time to cut my hand, so I can only do very limited movements. I accept his request. Yes, yes, okay. And quickly I dodge the knife, put myself as safe as
avec mon
possible
bras gauche
with my
en
left
poussant sur son
arm
bras.
by pushing
Et
his
à ce
arm.
moment-là, je vais pouvoir
At that
utiliser
moment, I
mon
can
autre
use my
bras
other hand in order to
de
put
façon à
myself
me
in
mettre en
safety.
sécurité.
I pull him
Je vais
inwards, for
tirer
example,
vers l'intérieur,
so
par
that I
exemple,
can do a wrist
je vais
lock
pouvoir
and
faire
use the
une
car
clé de poignet
to press
et
him
utiliser
against with an
la
elbow
voiture
lock.
pour le plaquer avec une clé de
I end
poignet.
up controlling the
Ce qui fait
knife
que je
with a
contrôle le
wrist
couteau par
lock
une clé de poignet,
and the individual
l'individu par la clé
with
de
the
poing.
elbow
Je vais
lock.
pouvoir lui retirer
I
le
can
couteau
now remove the
tout
knife
en
from
gardant
him
la clé de
while
poignet
doing the wrist
avec
lock
la
with
main
my
droite
right
ou avec
or
la main
left
gauche
hand.
contre
Control the
l'épaule et
elbow.
maintenant lui demander
And
de
now
descendre
ask
à
him
genoux
to
par
go
exemple.
down
À
on
genoux.
his
Descends
knees,
à genoux.
for example.
Descends. Je vais venir
Kneel
peut-être
down, down.
sécuriser ma clé.
I may secure my lock.
Là, il est dans une
There,
position tellement
he's in
inconfortable
such
que
an
moi, je peux
uncomfortable
prendre mon téléphone
position that I
portable,
can
appeler
take
la
my
police.
cell phone and call the police.
Le coup
A
de poing
person throws a
arrive et
punch at me,
j'ai
giving me no
absolument pas
time
le
to
temps
think of an
de
academic move.
réfléchir à faire un mouvement
But on the other
académique,
hand,
mais
I
par
have
contre, j'ai
plenty of
largement le
time to
temps,
realize the punch,
grâce à
thanks to
l'entraînement,
my
de me rendre
training.
compte qu'il me frappe.
So I'm going to
Donc, je
limit
vais
the damage by
éviter
quickly
un
strike
dégât
back.
et je vais
By
rentrer
blocking his
très
arm,
vite à l'intérieur de sa
I
frappe.
can quickly hit him with my elbow on his neck
Bloquer
to
son
distract
bras.
him,
Rapidement, j'ai
which
le temps
allows
de
me
lui
to
mettre
prepare an
un
arm
coup de
lock.
coude sur la nuque
I
pour le
do a
déconcentrer,
circular
ce
movement
qui
to
me
bring
permet de
his arm
préparer
to a
une clé
90-degree
de bras.
position
Je vais
and
passer
finish my lock.
un mouvement
And
circulaire, amener son
on a
bras à
rotating
90
movement of
degrés,
my
90
whole
degrés
body,
et fermer ma clé.
I
Et
do a
sur un
lock
mouvement
to
de
bring him to the
rotation
floor
de tout mon
so I
corps,
can control
je vais
him.
l'amener en clé de poulet. Et l'amener au sol.
Once he's
Pour le
blocked
contrôle au
here,
sol.
now
Une
I
fois ici,
stabilize my
il est
position.
bloqué.
I block
Maintenant,
his
je vais
neck,
stabiliser
and
ma
then
position,
I can also
venir
go get
bloquer
his second arm.
sa nuque.
These locks allow me,
Et là,
in case I
je peux
cannot let
aussi
him
aller
go,
chercher
to take my
le
cell phone and
deuxième bras.
call or ask somebody on the street to call the
Ces
police.
clés me permettront, si je ne peux pas le lâcher, de prendre mon téléphone portable pour appeler ou demander à quelqu'un dans la rue d'appeler la police. Sur les genoux, voilà. Bouge plus maintenant. Sur les genoux, voilà. Bouge plus maintenant.
An aggressor grabs me by the throat. I quickly realize he's not a great fighter because I'm not worried about the way he grabs me. Immediately, I turn on the side to make him let go, and then I take his hand in full hand so as to be able to make a rotation, and immediately do a wrist lock, so that he cannot counter this lock. I lift his elbow very high. If I remain at this level there,
son
he
coude
still
crève.
can't counter
Je
me.
reste à ce niveau-là,
From the moment I raise my elbow,
dans la
the pain
capacité
will be
de me
terrible.
contrer. À partir du moment où je monte le
I will
coude,
stabilize
la
my
douleur va
technique
être
by
forte.
passing the other hand
Je
through
vais
his arm and control his
fixer ma
shoulder.
technique en passant l'autre
And
main
now,
à travers
all I have to
son
do
bras
is turn his
et
wrist
venir
towards me
contrôler l'épaule.
so as to have him
Et
in
maintenant,
full
je n'ai plus
control.
qu'à pivoter son poignet
Now
vers
I
moi
ask him to kneel. He can no
de
longer
manière
react.
à le mettre
Kneel.
en
Kneel right
contrôle
now.
total. Maintenant, je vais lui demander de se mettre à genoux pour être sûr qu'il ne puisse plus du tout réagir. À genoux,
There you go.
tout de suite. Voilà. Maintenant, je
Now I control
contrôle
him, his
poignet,
wrist, his
épaule,
shoulder, with my
l'autre
legs,
jambe.
and I can
Je peux
take my
prendre
cell
mon
phone
téléphone
and
portable,
call the
appeler la
police or
police,
ask for help from
ou
somebody.
demander de l'aide à un passant.
Practically nobody has time to react like this. It's unexpected. I'm going to try to limit the damage. If I stay like this, I take the blow in my legs, and I risk of being seriously injured. The best way to limit the damage is to move as quickly as possible. Here I have no extraordinary technique, but I already saved my legs. Now, in this position, I can continue. I can do an arm lock or a simple lock. Once I have done my arm lock, the stick, my opponent's weapon, has fallen down. I fold his arm in a 90 degrees position and block his elbow on my hip so that he cannot leave, and with the other hand I lift his chin to control him so that he can no longer escape me.
Sur ma hanche pour qu'il ne puisse plus partir. Et avec l'autre main, je vais remonter son menton pour le contrôler et qu'il ne puisse plus m'échapper.
A person grabs me. He blocks my arms. To react quickly, I relax completely and bend my legs. I take his arm from the elbow to put it close to me, and by moving slightly forward, I make him lose a little bit his balance, and I use my hand to make him bend his legs in the knee, and I move forward. Now that he's on the ground, I can control him with a lock or hit him with my legs or my hands.
Je peux le maîtriser par des clés, le frapper avec les jambes ou avec les mains. Ouais, d'accord. Tiens, prends-les.
Les clés.
Ouais, d'accord. Tiens, prends-les. Comme vous pouvez le
As you
constater,
can
si j'ouvre
see,
ma
I'm
voiture, je
trying
peux
to
appuyer
open my
les
car.
clés.
A person comes from behind with a
Je
gun.
lui donne.
He wants my keys.
J'essaye.
I
Je
give them
profite
to him. I
de
distract
mon
him by
ordinateur
dropping the keys.
où il veut prendre les clés pour les lâcher.
I quickly turn around the gun to
Et
deviate
tourne
it, and in
rapidement
this movement,
le
I
pistolet
take the
déjà
weapon
dédié.
from his hands to strike him, to
Et dans
bring
le
him
mouvement,
to the floor, but I've already
je
saved
prends
my life.
l'arme de ses mains pour le frapper, l'amener au sol, mais j'ai déjà sauvé ma vie.
I'm sitting in my car and a person comes and throws a punch at me. I soften the blow by getting in the car, and at the same time I dodge his punch and block his arm by the wrist. At the same time, with the other hand, I can try to place my fingers in his throat, which allows me to have my arm here, under his elbow. I push his wrist and elbow so as to do an arm lock. I take advantage of the difficult conditions of the car to block his wrist on the outside of my thigh, and so his head is outside the car, his arm inside, blocked by my thigh. I have an arm block, he can hardly escape.
à laquelle il peut difficilement échapper.
I'm being strangled on the side, quickly my right hand being free, and before he hurts me, I hit him on the genitals and stay close to him. I put my right hand under his right leg to make him lose balance, and lift him by making a rocking movement. I don't lift him forcefully, but move him on the side so that he becomes lighter for me. Once here on the ground, I take advantage of his mistake, which is putting his arm down to block him. I hold his arm, move my leg over his arm to block his neck, and here with the arm lock, he won't be able to move.
Et ici, avec la clé de bras, il ne bougera plus.
Surprised by the arm, I realize there's a man with a stick. He's about to strike. Fortunately for me, I have the time to defend myself, so I immediately move towards the stick to block his arm. I grab his wrist, I turn his wrist so as to stretch his elbow and slip my shoulder under the joint. Now I have a good grip. I only have to push my shoulder upwards and pull his wrist down. I can at the same time, if he hasn't let go of the stick, retrieve it and strengthen my technique by passing the stick under my elbow on his wrist.
En passant le bâton sous mon coude, sur son poignet.
Someone comes from behind and pulls. In the movement, I lose my balance. I'm surprised and I decide to fall on the ground. He pulls me and instead of resisting the fall, I decide to fall on the ground. Immediately in the movement, I catch his hand, then his arm with my second hand. With my right leg, I control his head by the neck and his chest with my knee. My hips go up very quickly so that he cannot move. Here I have a very good control over him. My knee blocks his chest, his head is in my knee, and I use all the power of my hip to push him away so that he rolls. I pull his arm so that he doesn't go too far, so that I can defeat him with an elbow lock. Since we're on the floor, and to avoid that he bites me, quickly I push his head to control with my foot on his head and do an arm lock. Threatened with a knife, I'm sitting on a chair. The simplest movement would be to drop my glass, of course, would be to push inwards on the side. Now I'm protected before he has the time to change the hand holding the knife. To recover, I push down his hand and, as slow as possible, invert his hands behind his leg, push him down to the ankle, and there I pull his arm and leg at the same time. In reality, he won't roll. I lift him off the ground and make him fall flat back. Here now I have a very good control over him. I block his thigh, several solutions. I choose one. I do an arm lock, pushing with his own leg. If he pushes his leg forward, he does an arm lock himself.
Mon
A man
voisin me
hits
frappe,
me. I react immediately
le
by
réflexe
blocking his
immédiat
wrist with my
de
left
bloquer
hand
son
and
poignet
quickly I lean on
avec ma main gauche
to
et
move and put
rapidement,
pressure
je
on
vais
his
m'appuyer
shoulder
dessus pour
and
avancer.
slide my wrist
Je
under
vais
his
venir faire
elbow
pression au
and
niveau
do
de
a
son épaule
lock
et
by resting
glisser
on my opposite
mon poignet sous
wrist,
son coude et venir
a
faire
cross-arm lock.
une clé en prenant
And now
appui
I
sur
do
mon
a
poignet
lever by pressing
opposé.
under his wrist and lifting just below
clé en
his
trop.
elbow. It's
Et
very
maintenant,
important to
je
secure the
fais un
shoulder.
levier en appuyant
If I'm
sur
too
son
low,
poignet
it won't work.
et en
All
soulevant
he has to do is
juste au-dessus
bend
de
the
son
arm and my lock is over.
Très important de bien fixer l'épaule. Si
Go
je
ahead,
suis
bend
trop
the arm.
bas, ça ne marchera pas. Il a juste à plier
If
le
I'm
bras
good with the
et ma
shoulder,
clé
he
est
cannot
fichue.
move.
Plie le bras. Si je suis bien sur l'épaule, il ne pourra plus bouger. Je
A
le vois
man
arriver,
attacks me.
je
I
dégage
repel
tout de
him
suite
immediately
en
by
faisant
pressing just
pression
above
juste
the
au-dessus du
elbow
coude. Comme ça,
so
j'ai
that
un
I
bon
get
contrôle.
a
C'est un
good
peu à
control
l'arrache,
over him.
mais ça fonctionne.
It's a bit
Le
hasty,
temps qu'il se
but it
reprenne,
works.
j'ai le
By the
temps
time he
de bouger et
recovers,
de
I have the
réfléchir à ce
time
que
to
je veux faire.
move and think
Je vais
about what I'm
utiliser
going
la
to
force.
do next.
Obligatoirement, il va vouloir revenir
I use
et il va
force
pousser.
because he
Je vais
will most
utiliser
probably
la
want
force
to
qu'il
try
a
again,
pour me
and
lever
he will push.
et venir sur
I use
lui.
the strength in his
Glisser
push
ma
to
main
get up and come towards
et
him,
mettre mon poignet
slide
sur
my
la
hand,
carotide,
and put my
ici mais de
wrist
l'autre côté,
on the carotid, here,
avancer,
but on the
le
other side.
fixer contre moi
Move forward, press
et
him
ayant
against me,
le
and
petit torse là, mon
having the
poignet
little
sur sa
bone
carotide,
there,
je vais venir
the
faire
wrist on the
un
carotid,
étranglement.
I strangle him.
Un
A
étranglement
blow
sanguin.
choke.
Donc,
If it's done
si c'est
well,
bien fait,
within 10 to 15
dans
seconds,
les
he's
10 à
out.
15 secondes, il dort. Hé, hé. Hé, hé. Il
A
m'agresse
man
avec un
attacks
bâton.
me with a stick. To
Pour éviter
avoid
de me
getting
faire
hurt
mal
and to
et pour
protect
me
me,
protéger,
I
je
dodge
vais
with an
esquiver
oblique
avec une
hit
frappe en
there,
oblique.
as if I punched
Là,
him.
comme si je donnais un coup de
If I
poing.
hit this way,
Si
I
je
may
frappe
hurt me, and
dans
in
cette
spite of
forme-là, je
everything,
risque
he
de me
may
faire
get
mal
me.
et malgré tout, il risque
Here
de me
I'm able
toucher.
to deflect
Là,
the stick,
j'arrive à dévier le
avoiding a
bâton,
wound.
ça m'évite
At the moment
une
when I
blessure.
touch it,
Au
before he
moment où
starts
je
again,
sens que j'ai
very
esquivé,
quickly,
avant qu'il se
I move
reprenne très vite,
towards the
je vais
stick
avancer
and
sur le bâton
pivot the stick to hit him
et
on the thigh.
pivoter le bâton
Quickly,
pour lui mettre un coup
move
sur la
forward a
cuisse.
bit. Quickly, I sweep it with my leg
Rapidement,
and end it
sa
by
jambe
hitting him
avance un
in
peu.
the genitals
Rapidement,
or
je lui
face.
balaye avec ma jambe et le termine avec un coup dans les parties ou au visage. Saisi
I
par les
get
deux
grabbed
poignets,
by
je
both my
trouve une
wrists,
solution urgente
and I find an
de me
urgent
dégager.
solution to free
Premièrement,
myself.
je
First, I
plie
bend my wrist
mon
inwards
poignet vers
over my
l'intérieur,
other arm,
au-dessus de l'autre bras.
and at the same time
Et en
I
même
knock
temps,
his inside
je viens
veins with my
frapper
other hand to make
les
him let
veines
go.
intérieures avec
Now
l'autre main
that's
pour
my
le faire
arm
lâcher.
that's free.
Maintenant
Being
que mon
above
bras est
him,
libéré,
I'm free to
étant
attack his
au-dessus, je
face.
suis libre
I
d'attaquer au
grab
niveau
his
du visage.
opposite
Je
wrist
saisis
and I
son poignet
strike
opposé
at the same
et
time
vais
with the
frapper en même
reverse
temps
of the right
d'un
arm.
revers du bras droit.
Instantly after, I
Instantanément
push my leg
après,
behind him and I push his head
j'avance
back
ma jambe
and
derrière
then
lui
his
et je
body.
vais
I do an
pousser sa
arm lock.
tête en arrière.
I bring him
En
to the
même temps
ground
qu'avec le corps,
and I keep
je
him
fais une
there
clé de bras.
on the ground,
Je
doing an
l'amène au
elbow
sol
lock on my knee, and I control him with my other
et je vais
hand.
le fixer ici
If he moves,
au
I
sol
break his arm.
en faisant une clé de coude sur mon genou et je le contrôle avec l'autre main. S'il bouge, je casse le bras. Mais tu veux quoi? T'es fou toi? Mais tu veux quoi? T'es fou toi? Je suis
I'm
menacé
threatened
par
by a
un
man
revers,
holding a gun. Not pleasant,
pas agréable,
not
c'est
available
pas
at all.
enviable.
Fortunately,
chance,
he's
c'est
at the
qu'il est à
reachable
portée
distance. He's
de
very
main.
close.
Il est très
So I
proche.
will try to
Donc je
distract
vais
him,
essayer de le déconcentrer
demonstrating a certain fear. Anyway,
en
facing a
manifestant
weapon,
une
I
certaine
think we
crainte.
are all
De
afraid.
toute façon, face à une arme,
No, no,
je
sir.
pense qu'on a peur.
And there,
Non, non, monsieur,
I do a
rien.
very quick movement to
Et là,
disarm
je
him
vais
by
très
hitting the
rapidement
veins
faire
of
un
the wrist
mouvement de
and hitting
désarmement
the
en venant
fingers.
taper sur
It's
les
important to
veines
hit the
du
fingers
poignet
to make him
et
let go of the
taper sur
gun.
les doigts.
If he's
C'est
holding it
important de taper
strongly
sur les doigts pour le
and
faire
that I
lâcher.
hit on the hand,
S'il tient très
he
fort
may
et que je
have
tape
enough
sur la main,
strength to keep control of the
il
gun.
peut avoir assez de force
But
pour
if I
garder
hit
le
his
contrôle du
fingers,
pistolet.
he may not.
Si je tape sur les doigts, il y a moins de chance.
In a defensive
En
position,
position de
at no
défense,
time will he think I will
à
try to
aucun moment il
counter
va
and
penser
right
que je
away
vais
I get up to
essayer de
finish
contrer.
the situation.
Et tout de suite, je me lève pour achever mon adversaire.